Hey everybody, this is Rich Hughes. Sorry if it's noisy, there's a stream right behind me. It's a really nice place to be. I'm not sure if it's going to be noisy for the camera or not, but in any case, that's my place. I'm standing right behind me here in Park City. It's really an awesome spot. So this experiment that I'm doing is about living a really balanced life. Taking all the 10 areas that I've identified as being really significant in my life, and I think in most people's lives, and trying to bring them all into balance. Not really to be an expert in any particular one of them, but to bring them all into like a cohesive existence. So in order to do that, I think the very first thing I need to do is to look at the 10 areas and identify really honestly where I'm at. So what I decided to do was something I learned in the Tony Robbins seminar I did once, is to score these areas in a scale of 1 to 10. So below this video you'll see the scores that I'm currently giving myself, and you'll see that there's actually a lot of room to grow. So I really need to be really honest. It does no good to exaggerate, and once I come up with like a really strong assessment of where I'm at, which I did below, then I can start to develop a really an action plan to like change all these things and make them better, right? So first identify where you're at. Next thing is to develop a really strong action plan. So there are some areas in my life that I'm actually doing really well in, and that I've been working on for a few years now, actually maybe even my whole life, in a roundabout way. And so some things that I'm doing that are really working well, I'll share with you in hopes that maybe they'll be useful to you too. Everybody's different, and what works for me might not work for you, but I've gotten some pretty effective tools in my belt so far in certain areas of my life, so I'll share those with you. I'm actually going to try to focus this project on improving where I'm at, not really maintaining where I'm at. So although I'll share things that I think might be useful to you that I'm already doing, I'm really going to try to focus on taking everything to the next level. And as you'll see from looking at my scores below, I actually have a lot of room to improve. So the reason for the scores, maybe the score seems like a little OCD, a little bit crazy, but I think really, there's a great quote that's floating around out there. It says, what gets measured gets managed, and I believe that that's true. It's like in you right now, whether you'll admit it honestly or not, you already have an idea of where you're at in all of these areas if you were to look at them. So if you were to look at your finances, your physical health, or your intimate relationship, or your friendships, and I said on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? It wouldn't be very hard for you to determine that. It might be within a few numbers, but like, is it a 3, is it a 4, that kind of thing. But if you know it's a 10, it's a 10. If you know it's a 0, it's a 0. And so by getting honest and taking a look at where you're actually really at, from that point you can really make a lot of forward progress and forward momentum. If you don't know where you're at, it's very hard to get where you're going, right? So I think it's, some people might look at it as being excessive, but I don't think it's excessive at all. You already know where you are in your subconscious, You already know if you feel good about something or if you don't feel good about it. And if you want to assign a number to how good or bad you feel, I think it's a useful way to kind of gauge your progress, gauge where you're at and gauge your progress moving forward. So the first thing is, there's a link below to a scorecard that I use, and that I am using as well, that you might be able to use too. It'll automatically sum your totals and stuff and kind of show you where you're at. So if this is interesting to you and you want to do it with me, then download that and score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in all the areas that are listed there, which are all the focus areas that you'll see in the navigation of the website. There's 100 points possible because you give yourself a score of 1 to 10 in 10 different areas. So you'll see below what my score is, and I definitely have plenty of room to grow. So when you're scoring yourself, I want you to look at two things, the same things that I looked at. Really, you want to look at where you are versus where you want to be. And where you want to be is unique to you. So you have your own, blueprint, as I've heard Tony Robbins refer to it. You have an idea of where you think your life should be, in all of these areas. So one person might decide that, in order to be successful financially, they have to have $1 million in the bank. Another person might decide, as long as I have $5,000 in the bank and, $2,000 a month to blow on whatever I want and, whatever, then I'm great. So it's up to you to score yourself based upon your blueprint, but be honest, you know? Be really honest when you're doing this. This is exactly what I'm doing. You know, don't be too hard on yourself, and don't give yourself more credit than you're due. Just look at it objectively, give yourself an honest score based upon where you're at versus where you'd like to be. Now, with the where you'd like to be, you know, for me, I aspire to achieve the highest highs, you know, based upon my blueprint. So, for example, in finances, I don't necessarily need to have $100 million, you know, to be happy, to feel like that area is covered or is in good shape. So for you, you need to, you know, pick what that number is. But, you know, give yourself a respectable goal that you feel really good about, that's attainable, but also very worthwhile and significant to you. I love Park City. It's just an awesome place. So the next step that we're going to do, that I'm going to do, and the reason I say we is because I'm hoping that some of you will be motivated by this and do it with me, in essence. You know, I'm going to do it by myself whether anybody does it with me or not. But if you want to participate, if you want to go along for the ride, or if you see this at any point in the future and you want to do it, then that's the reason I'm kind of referring to this in a we sense. So the next step is we're going to set a clear goal with an action plan for each area. So I've scored myself. Now this is in the next video, the very next thing that we're going to do, that I'm going to do. I've scored myself in all these areas, and the next thing to do is to really make an action plan for each of the 10 areas. Okay, now that's a lot of effort when you really look at it. Trying to, you know, make sweeping changes in 10 areas is really difficult to do. And I'm certainly not wanting to bite off more than I can chew, but I can, you know, I can take on a lot of, So, and really in essence, in order to get results in this, I'm going to have to take on a lot. Now, there's a really super valuable principle that was introduced to me in Timothy Ferriss' book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which I highly suggest. It's the 80-20 principle, and it basically states 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort, basically. So one of the steps that we're going to do here next is when evaluating where you've evaluated where you're at in all these areas, and then you need to come up with an action plan. Well, you know, if you really look at your action plan carefully, you'll see that 20% of it's really the most important, and 80% of it's much less relevant. But oftentimes we focus on the 80% stuff because it's easier, or it's something that you can actually, it's more tangible in the sense that you can, you know, you can knock these little things out quickly and you go, okay, look, I made some progress. But, you know, really in order to make a really effective progress of the kind that's going to make your scores go up, is going to take the top 20% most important things that you can do and to get those done first. So obviously there's going to be minutia, not irrelevant, but less important stuff that needs to get done. And I definitely fit those things in. It's not as if I ignore all the small stuff and only focus on the big things, because many times that can create chaos. So we'll, you know, look at ways to kind of manage that. Still focus on the 20% that's the most important and knock that stuff out, but also manage the smaller stuff. So here's the deal. This is like really kind of the start of this project for me, and I'm super excited about it. As you look at my scores below, you see there's a lot of room to grow. In the next video, I'm going to do really quickly here, I'm going to look at, I don't think it's really practical to look at all 10 areas and approach them all at once. But as we'll talk about, some of them are kind of maintenance programs, and some of them require consistent focus and effort. So for me, one of the areas is physical fitness. I'd like to put on some more muscle and maybe refine my diet a little bit. And those things are relatively easy for me. So I can go, what am I going to eat? When am I going to eat it? What workout plan can I get on? And then just get on it. And as long as I don't deviate from it, that thing's just like a train that's moving, and I don't have to really worry about it. I can check in on it once a month and see how my results are going, or once every few weeks, whatever is necessary to really manage the results. But some areas are like that, where they're kind of autopilot areas. Other areas are going to require sweeping changes because they just don't exist. For example, giving and contribution. Well, I'm generous with my friends and such, but that's a periodic thing. You know, oh, you need some money, or you need me to help you with this, great. But when it comes to like volunteer work, for example, that's something I'm going to have to really dig into and figure out what kind of volunteer work I'd like to do. Obviously I want whatever I'm doing to be successful and meaningful and significant to me, as best I can, you know. So some of those areas are going to need a different type of attention than others. So we'll look at that. Okay, so below are my scores, and take a look at those and you'll see where I'm at. I'm being really honest about where I'm at with everything. Like I said, there's plenty of room to grow, which is exciting. Actually, I was up last night laying in bed thinking about this, and I'm so excited because I feel like to really, you know, 100% go into all these areas just is absolutely guaranteed to create results, you know. In any of the areas in my life that I feel like you know, could really use some attention are going to get addressed as well. The whole thing will rise, as you know, as the score rises, as my perception of my own reality rises. This synergistic effect, I'm positive, will take hold, and my entire outlook and my entire reality will increase. You know, so you know, this is I don't know how life works. I don't know how many of them I'm going to have, but as it seems right now, I'm in this one, right? And you know, it's a wild, magical thing that we're in, and there's every reason to try to make the absolute most of it and to not put it off. There is no tomorrow, you know. There is no tomorrow. It's all happening right now. So if you have any positive or, you know, useful comments, you know, good constructive criticisms, please share them in the comments field below. If you'd like to post any of your own scores, I'd absolutely love to see where you're at, what your perception of you know, your scores is right now. And then also, I'd really appreciate it if you would click the like or the recommend button underneath this video, just to share it with more people, because I really, you know, I'm going to do this to try to create the most dynamic life I can for myself. But I really would love it if I could inspire anybody in any way or help motivate anybody to create any kind of positive change in their life, because I don't really see what the hell the use of all this stuff is if you're not doing that on some level, you know. It's like you can spend a lot of time creating a lot of things, but if you're not having a positive impact on others, then I mean, I don't really see what the point of it all is. So I really would appreciate that. So I look forward to talking to you in the next video, which will be coming right up. Thanks.